Welcome to the Benzano podcast. We're calling a spade a spade. It's been a long time since we've made back-to-back videos talking about the coaching of Christie sides because, well, Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell have been carrying the Indiana Fever since the Olympic break. Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, with the help of the defense of Lexi Hull, have been covering the wounds that this coaching staff continues to have. They are a perfect cover-up for all of the blemishes on this Indiana Fever team. 29-12 in the third quarter strictly falls on the coach's shoulder. The fact that this team only scored 12 points when you have players like Clark, Mitchell, Boston, Temmie, Hull, when you have players like that scoring 12 points in a quarter is not acceptable no matter what. And when not only do you score 12 points, but you allow the other team to string together a 14-0 run before you decide to call a timeout, that's when I need to step in and say, Christie, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Now, last video, I left you guys with a bit of a teaser. I just want to see something in the postgame that says we're growing here. I want to see something in the postgame that says we're better than that. Let's hear what I had to say last night, and then we'll get into the swing of things. Christie sides, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? And I hope that post-game press conference you're taking accountability. Because if you're not, I am doubling back. Doubling back. And doubling back I did. Christie sides in the post-game interview. I heard a lot of we's. I didn't hear a lot of me's. I heard a lot of us. I didn't hear a lot of me's. I heard a lot of deflecting. Oh, we could have done better. Together. Execution. I heard a lot of the hoopla that Christie sides has been peddling all season long. And this postgame was her opportunity to say, you know what? I could have done better. I should have called the timeouts. I should have adjusted. I should have steadied the waters. And instead, the team didn't execute. Defensively, we pride ourselves in defense. Yada, blah, blah, blah. Let's take a listen to some of this Christie sides tape, and let's talk about the lack of accountability that goes on with this Indiana Fever head coach. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what we talked about. That felt like playoff basketball, and that's what I just kept telling our players. That's who they are. They're a good veteran team. They came out in the third quarter, and they got in our ass, and when they did, we didn't handle it very well. And then we let the officials rattle us as well, and that's growing and understanding. Like, if you just give a team like that a little bit, they'll take advantage of you, and that's what we did. But defensively, we've just been much better since the break, and we gave up 80 points in 3 quarters. You don't give yourself a chance. And a lot of it, we just were watching a few clips. A lot of it was us. We weren't where we were supposed to be, just in like a 5-man shell. Like, we weren't at the nail. We weren't in 2-9. We weren't in help. We weren't in gaps. We let them get by us and with dribble penetration too much. Our goal is to contest every single shot. We didn't get out on our closeouts.
Beautiful, Christie. Beautiful. I'm glad we're starting off hot. We started off saying, this is playoff basketball, Christie. If that's the coaching job that you're going to do in the playoffs, folks, let's just pack it up. Let's just pack it. Let's just give our playoff spot to the Atlanta Dream. Let's give our playoff spot to the Dallas Wings. If that was playoff basketball, Christie, and it felt like an important game from me watching at home, if that was playoff basketball, then maybe you should coach it like it's a playoff game. Gasp, I know. If we're taking that as playoff basketball, maybe we should coach that as a playoff game, meaning Don't put in Katie Lou Samuelson. Don't close the game out with Alyssa Smith on the floor. Don't do stupid things. Don't let the other team go on a 7-0 run to start the third quarter. Don't wait for your team to lose the lead until you call a timeout. Don't wait for the refs to get in your teammates' heads, to get in your players' heads, to where you feel like they were rattled and didn't handle it well. Maybe you should have called a timeout during that 29-12 run, Christie. Maybe as, like you said, they were putting their foot in our ass, maybe timeout should have been called. In the fourth quarter, the Indiana Fever come out on an 8-2 run, and what does the other coach do? What does the coach on the other team do? Timeout. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? What are we up to here? Cheryl Reeve wasted no time to call a timeout. She didn't wait for the Minnesota Lynx to lose the lead. She didn't just sit there idly by while her team got flustered, while her team was trying to force extra things to get a foul call. She called a timeout and said, guys, let's get our stuff together. Meanwhile, Christie Sides does nothing. She allows the game to get out of hand. She allows the score to start to spiral. She allows her players' emotions to start to take over to where they're not thinking through the game. She's sitting there allowing this to happen, folks. And again, right? Young Indiana Fever team. Okay. If you have a kid and they're throwing a temper tantrum, I know we're in a different day and age. Are you just going to let your kid throw a temper tantrum and let them sit on the floor and ride around and flop around? Or are you going to say, get the hell up, stop acting like a 3-year-old, get it together? Or are you going to let them embarrass you in front of Toys R Us? Stop flailing around. Stop acting like a brat. Get it together. I said no to ice cream. I didn't say no to the candy bar. I didn't say no to a gummy. I said no, you can't have any ice cream. Quiet down. Get it together. Timeout. Can I get a timeout? Excuse me, Miss Cashier Lady. Timeout here. Let me talk to this kid. Instead, Christie Sides would let that child just flail around and continue to spiral out of control. Christie, again, if you're calling this a playoff game, coach like a playoff game. Treat it like a playoff game. Don't wait for us to get back 78-77 and put Alyssa Smith in the game and put Katie Lou in the game. Don't let Lexi Holt, Temi Benley, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Caitlin Clark fight all the way back after being down 74-62, fight all the way back to a 1-point game, only to sub-in players that have no business being on the floor. That's a Christie Sides problem, folks. That is a Christie Sides problem, folks. She is refusing to do what playoff coaches do. She's going to say this is a playoff game. Well, then, Christie, treat it like it's a playoff game. Or else we might as well just go home now. We got the celebrating out the way. Let's just go home now. What else did we have to say for ourselves today?
Christie, so in the third quarter, Caitlin is, revving up the crowd and whatever, but is clearly, and she said it too, getting, there's that line, right? And you didn't want to cross it. What do you say anything to her at that point? She came to the bench, obviously, for those last few minutes of the third quarter, and she then seemed to be fine as far as the fourth quarter emotionally, right? And just back in it. Is there a switch that you can kind of turn on and off, or how do you coach someone who is obviously the crowd is loving it, right? Yeah. But clearly you also don't want to have her get another technical foul or whatever.
I think that's she's just so passionate and so. She's just a hell of a, her competitive spirit is like, it reminds me of Diana Taurasi. She's that. And so when she is upset or mad, like that's what we've been working on, trying to figure out how to get past those moments. I was worried she was going to pick up a T. in that third quarter, and thank goodness that she didn't. But that's growth, and she's got to learn that in those moments, I need my point guard to have a cool head, get us in whatever we need to be in offensively, and then, if it's not a foul call that you thought, you got to get back. You got to get back and transition and help our team get stops. So, we're working on those things. That's what a young team.
That's what a young team does. Christie. Do you know how you stop everybody's emotions getting out of control? You call a time out. You lose your mind. You go crazy. Folks, remember when the Los Angeles Sparks went head-to-head against the Connecticut Sun? Ben, we only watched Caitlin Clark. Okay, excuse me. For those of you that watched the game, do you remember Kurt Miller literally running out onto the court, screaming, gyrating, going bonkers because they weren't getting any foul calls? Now, Christie Sides seems to be doing a better job getting in the officials' ears, but Christie, get teed up. Get fired up. And if that's not your style, then you know what? Before you let it get to a point to where your players are now so passionate and care so much that their emotions get the best of them, before we get to that point, call a time out. Foul calls or no foul calls, as the team's going on a 29-12 run, call a time out. Didn't even need to sit her for those few minutes to end the third. I get it. You wanted to sit her because you thought she was going to get a T. We all thought she was going to get a T. But guess what? Exactly. You guys are catching on now. Call a time out. This is not good, guy. Again, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull. More specifically, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull. They have been playing so amazing that we've all just kind of wanted to gloss over the biggest elephant in the room. We all just want to be like, oh, Christie Side, she's doing a great job. No, Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark are doing a great job, and Christie Sides just hasn't had the opportunity to blow it yet. Well, last night was her opportunity, and she sat there idly by, in her words, a playoff game atmosphere, playoff basketball, and she made terrible coaching decisions. Not good at all. Now, luckily, there was one reporter in that room. I don't know his name. He didn't say his name. They really got to get into that. Folks, I watch Formula One, and when they ask the drivers questions, every time, name and publication, name and publication, name and publication, name and publication. These guys are just anonymous people asking garbage questions. But one person gave Christie Sides the opportunity to take accountability. And guess what Christie Sides did? Ding, ding, ding. Avoided, deflected, and pointed blame. Let's take a listen here, shall we?
Third quarter, coming out of half, Minnesota was forcing a lot of turnovers on the pick and roll.
Yes.
Just collapsing in that high action.
Shout out, Coach JB.
From your viewpoint on the sidelines, were you just actively wanting to change that? Was it maybe just realizing a little bit too late that you needed to change something? What was kind of the game plan there?
No, I think they're.
Christie, did you need to change something? Were you actively trying to change something, or did you react too late? Let's hear this trash answer.
There were some times probably when we go back and watch, we probably needed to execute something that was a little longer. We are second or first in the league in points in the paint, or I think third or fourth, but we tied Minnesota, who isn't very good at points in the paint. I think they're maybe 11 or 12. And so we have to take advantage of where we have the advantage. And I think there were times where we needed to just come down, execute, get a paint touch, and then play out of that. And we were taking some early shots that didn't go our way, and then long shots end up being long rebounds, which is hard to get back in transition defense.
Great, Christie. Absolutely zero account. They needed more paint touches. Okay, Christie. Call a timeout. Tell them that. If they're not executing the game plan that you want them to execute, timeout. Oh, why aren't we giving the ball in the paint? If our advantage is in the paint, allegedly, why aren't we taking advantage of that? Why aren't we forcing it in the paint? Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Why aren't we forcing the ball in the paint? Are you out of your damn mind? Are you okay? Stop sitting there tallying up all the paint touches every game. And if you want paint touches again, call a timeout. Guys, we have the advantage down low. Stop chucking threes. But Christie, let's be real. The Indiana Fever made 3 field goals that entire third quarter. Because we weren't getting the ball paint touches enough? No, because you saw them get flustered, you saw it go out of control, and you sat there and did nothing. You stood there and you watched your team fail. Joke's on you. You are the failure here. Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, they're not going to bail you out game after game after game after game. It's not going to happen that way. Especially, in your words, playoff basketball. 7-0 run to start the third. Timeout. Guys, I know the refs aren't giving it to us. Let's try to slow it down. Let's try to get AB involved. Let's try to slow it down. Let's try to get an Alyssa Smith involved. You hear how crazy that sounds for me to even say? Let's slow it down and try to get an Alyssa Smith involved. No, timeout. You want paint touches, Nilissa, get out the game. Dantas, get your behind in there. I have yet to see somebody defensively stop Dantas from backing her way in. Do something as a coach, Christie. Instead of deflecting, take accountability. That was a question for you to take accountability. And what did you do? You took 0 accountability. Let's hear what your star player had to say about her performance. Let's see if Caitlin Clark takes any accountability for herself. What do we got, Caitlin?
Go Chloe, then Christine.
Yeah, Caitlin, you mentioned, how everything started to snowball. Just what do you think you guys need to do to just stop the bleeding in that instance?
I think it starts defensively. I think get a stop. It's going to be hard to win a game when they outscore you by 17 points in a quarter. It's impressive that we got it back to 1 point. And honestly,
How? How did we get it back to 1 point? We all know the answer. Katie Lou and Smith were on the bench. Hull and Temmie were in the game. It's as easy as that. All right, I'm from New Jersey. Shout out to my New Yorkers. Shout out to the Bostonians. Come on, hey, what are we doing here? It's that easy. God.
I thought we played really good in the fourth, and
Why did we play good in the fourth?
turnover in transition is what I felt like really kind of ended the momentum for us. I think it was 78-77. I got a block and a steal, and we were running in transition, and honestly made just a really bad read. I thought the girl was going to come over. She never ended up coming over. So I think defensively is where it has to start. Our first quarter defense was really good. Every quarter besides that was Third quarter was bad. So I think just continuing to get better. But we had moments, especially to begin the fourth quarter too, that were a lot better than the other two.
Chris.
Wow. Way to go. Taking accountability. I made a bad play, killed some momentum. I need to do better taking care of the basketball. I need to do better. I got flustered. She even goes on to say how she started foul hunting because she just wanted to get a foul call. Some of those middies that she threw up in the third were just her foul hunting to get a foul call. How come Caitlin Clark can admit when she does things wrong, yet Christie Sides just loves pointing blame? Why? Why is that? Why is that? Christie, you need to do better. You need to do better. We lost the third quarter 29-12. We clawed back, like Caitlin said, 78-77, a 1-point basketball game. And then you take out our two best defensive players, put in bums, and we lose the game by 11 points. Did Caitlin Clark play well? I think they all played well. She had a bad turnover? Okay. She had a bad turnover. Is that why we lost? No. I said it yesterday. Kelsey Mitchell, 23 points. Christie Sides didn't even run anything for her. Christie Sides didn't even run anything for her. Caitlin Clark's on the bench in the second quarter, and we're posting up an Alyssa Smith back to back. Why? I need an answer, folks. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. This is the Ben Daniel Podcast. I appreciate all of you guys for listening. I told you we were going to double back, and double back we did. Now, before we close this, folks, last week, Fever Wings, another record for the Indiana Fever on NBA TV. 652,000 people tuned in last week to watch the Indiana Fever versus the Dallas Wings, a very competitive, exciting game. Caitlin Clark played well, Enrique played well, Kelsey played well. They all played well. Prior to the season, the record for a WNBA game on NBA TV was 210,000. Caitlin Clark has doubled that and tripled that on multiple occasions this year. Multiple occasions this year. Last year's season high on NBA TV, 645 for the Cavs Warriors in November. Caitlin Clark, 652 against the Dallas Wings. Most watched games on NBA TV this past year. You see the Fever, you see an NBA team. You see the Fever, you see an NBA team. You see the Fever, you see the NBA team. You see the Fever, you see the... I know what the media wants to tell you guys. Everybody watches WNBA. That's a lie. Everybody watches Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. This is the Ben Daniel Podcast. I appreciate all the support. We are in the venue tomorrow. My Eagles won. I will see you guys later. I appreciate all the support. Take it easy.